Yeah.
Thank you.
Sit back and relax.
Okay. Steve.
You ready?
Well, Michael Peyser, producer of The Night We Never Met, a New York
A
picture.
very New York movie.
Now,
But I think universal, and it's hard to find a good place to live and a good person to live with.
in any city.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for folks in Kansas City, you know, we may not know what a rent control apartment is or a pied-à-terre, things like that. How do you propose to get across that?
I think the movie fairly describes it in its own terms, but really it's not so much about sharing the space, it's about how everybody needs a little place for their heart. It's not so much sharing the space. I think the movie describes why these people have a place for 2 nights a week that they need, that's their private spot, because each one is moving from a place in their life to another place. And it's just the fortuity that, you know, by chance, the fates lend a hand.
But I wonder if in New York it is a little harder to find a place with a little privacy, a little solitude. Is that a special condition, maybe?
It is, but I think, you know, I've lived many places around the country, and I think it now exists. Young people tend to come out of colleges, share with roommates, and then they eventually need to, you know, sort of plant the flag and make their own stand. And it's about that crisis of commitment, not so much with somebody else, but for yourself.
It's an ensemble piece.
It is indeed.
And I'm wondering about the complications of working on an ensemble piece. Are you able to keep everybody around during the shoot, or do you have to divvy up the chores?
The difficulty in this piece was you'll watch the movie and you'll think, oh, this is just charming and all these people and the way they interplay. Matthew, Annabella, and Kevin Anderson were only on screen together for 3 days during the 30 days of making the movie.
Yeah.
So the problem is we had a sort of a Matthew section, an Annabella section, and a Kevin Anderson section of the movie. You don't get a sense of that in the mix, the weave that happens at the end. But the director and certainly the production staff had to keep track of each one of the stories separately.
Mike's movies is something I'd like to talk about a little bit too. Your association with Disney has gone on for quite a while. Is the Mike's Movies project any different than what you've done before?
It is. Actually, I have a company where I'm doing probably 20 films I'm developing. Hopefully we'll make 3 or 4 of them next year. Starting a movie for Disney, a wonderfully charming movie called Camp Nowhere that we're starting next week, that we're going to pre-production on. But I'm also doing movies independently of Disney. I helped them create the Hollywood Pictures Imprimatur, their new division. And then I left and went back to making movies because I like making them. This, matter of fact, The Night We Never Met is a return for me to both New York and to sort of the passion I have of getting there on the streets and standing on the set and helping the fun happen. I didn't enjoy so much being a corporate filmmaker.
I keep thinking, though, that there must be a time in your life as a producer, as a filmmaker in general, when you think, I wish I was in a studio shooting with controlled sound and controlled lighting, and I'm not out here on location.
I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, and it's just fun to get up and do it every morning, and I like the floating crap game aspect of it.
Could you share an anecdote or two about shooting on the New York streets?
Well, absolutely. There's a scene in the movie where we shoot right on Bleecker Street, and we were trying to long dolly shot, and the camera comes down and settles on Matthew, who's very perplexed and at the height of his agony. And every time the camera would come down, some new person would straggle in, and they'd end up right in the middle of the shot. And I would just walk in and sort of put my arm around them as though they were my oldest friend in the world and go, let's go have coffee. You know, sort of, and save the shot. And if you go look at the movie, you'll see in the background a couple of times there's this repeating character who's usually me, sort of meeting my dear old friends.
Whenever that happens, I guess we have the idea that everybody in the shot was somehow under contract to be in that shot. Not so here?
Well, some of the longer lens shots, you know, there's a little, the real life comes through of the city.
Amazing. But in New York, they would take it in stride, wouldn't they?
They might, as they say, sue me, but let them try.
The most intriguing title of the year, The Night We Never Met. Let's go out on that. Where does that title come from, and What does it mean about the plot of the movie?
It means that The Night We Never Met is as you go through and watch the whole movie, you will fall in love with two people separately who you want to have them meet and fall in love, but they don't meet until the very last scene and until that last night. And the only time they share this wonderful apartment that they're sort of, like the fates have put them together in, is they sleep together one night, but separately in the same apartment.
I'm glad you went ahead and revealed that plot element, because I don't know that I've ever seen a movie where the two lovers don't meet until the very last.
It's unusual. There's a wonderful French film called And Now My Love, which is one of the classics of French cinema from the 60s that ends that way, which they actually, in the French version, this is interesting, French version, they meet on the plane, they finally sit next to each other, and in the French version, the plane blows up. When it was released domestically, for the rest of international audiences, they left it very saccharine. French had this wonderful thing where...
Oh, how French can you
yes,
be, right?
indeed.
Well, the movie is The Night We Never Met.
It's really great to
But
talk to you.
fortunately for Michael Peyser, it's the day we did meet. I'm John Tibbetts in New York City for KCTV5. That's hilarious.
Super. It is.